Hello everyone, and welcome back to the second and final video on Is Time Travel Possible? In the first video, we looked at time travel in general, and future travel specifically. In this video, we will discuss what it means to travel backwards in time to our past, and how this may present many fundamentally physical and logical issues. Okay. So it is possible to travel forward in time. But what about backward in time? Is that a thing? My son recently reminded me of a funny demonstration that the great physicist Stephen Hawking once performed to test if any time travelers from our future could travel to their past, to us. In a tongue-in-cheek event in 2009 at the University of Cambridge, England, Hawking threw a cocktail party for any time travelers that could attend, complete with a large "Welcome Time Travelers" banner, balloons, bottles of champagne, and trays of hors d'oeuvres. But how would possible travelers know about this party in Hawking's future? Well, after the party was over, Hawking created many invitationals that he then sent out. As he said, "I'm hoping copies of the invitation in one form or another will survive for many thousands of years." Maybe one of these future people in their ultra-high-tech world would step into their time machine and make a visit to Hawking's welcome party? What was the result? Silence. No one came. Unfortunately, the champagne remained corked. But Hawking never really believed that time travel could ever occur anyway. He thought that the laws of physics prohibited it and named it the chronology protection conjecture. However, despite Hawking's skepticism of possible time travel to the past, there are other physicists who believe the opposite, that it could be a real thing. Physicists Ronald Mallett, Frank Tipler, and Nobel laureate Kip Thorne are among those who take it seriously or are open to the possibility. There is a theoretical way that time travel to the past could potentially be possible. This way is through Einstein's later and more advanced general theory of relativity. This theory describes gravity and how matter curves the space and time around it. Since space-time itself can warp, bend, or curve in the presence of enough matter, it is conceivable that space can be manipulated in such a way as to fold in on itself. In special warped space-times called closed time-like curves, areas in space-time can be made so that their futures come back to their pasts. Like the ends of dough bending and coming together to form a bagel. Theoretical physicists have found two possible ways these closed time-like curves can be produced. One method is through a hypothetical substance called negative mass or negative energy. These materials would need to be produced in large amounts and manipulated to allow the space-time around them to curve correctly. Negative mass has never been experimentally observed and may not exist at all in nature. Negative energy, however, may. A strange quantum phenomenon called the Casimir effect has been interpreted to demonstrate the existence of negative energy. At this point, the effect is certainly real, but its relationship to negative energy remains speculative. The second way that could make past time travel possible is if there was a way to circumvent the speed of light and to travel faster than it. Remember that in special relativity, the universal speed limit is the speed of light. Only light can reach the speed. Also, remember that the closer you get to the speed of light, the slower your time goes relative to those at rest. If you were to somehow reach the speed of light, your time stands still and no ticking of your clock happens. Just the opposite would theoretically happen if you were to exceed the speed of light. Your time starts to go backwards relative to those standing still. Therefore, backwards time travel will occur beyond the speed of light. While relativity says it becomes increasingly difficult to approach light speed and is absolutely impossible to actually reach it, it says little about the feasibility of going beyond light speed. Physicists have proposed a hypothetical particle called the tachyon, which only goes faster than light and can never be slower. This means we are talking about a particle that is always going backwards in time. This particle has actually been searched for, but unfortunately, no experiments have yet found one. If there was a way to produce them in massive quantities, then we just might have the ability to utilize them for past time travel. Another method for circumventing the light speed barrier is through what are called wormholes, or warp drives. Wormholes are theoretical bends in space-time that connect two locations in space that are very far apart, but are done in a much shorter route. If there was a way to find or make a wormhole and then travel through one, it may be possible to move backwards in time. Warp drives in spaceships are ways of locally bending the space around them and using them to move through space faster than light. One of these warp drives, called an Alcubierre drive, has been theoretically studied and found to be logically possible if given enough high technology and energy. Interestingly, University of Connecticut physicist Ronald Mallett has been working on designs for an actual time machine. No joke. Mallett's idea is to create a cylinder of spinning light that he hypothesizes will produce what is called frame dragging. Frame dragging is a real phenomenon in general relativity that occurs when a very massive object spins. It drags and pulls space-time around it. Mallett believes this can be reproduced with spinning light. By entering the cylinder of light and spiraling around inside, time itself, he reasons, will also gradually move backwards. The longer an object stays and moves within the cylinder, the further back in time it will go. When the object exits the cylinder, it will be in an earlier time. Needless to say, Mallett's time travel hypotheses have been strongly criticized by his scientist colleagues. The greatest physical issues with the possibility of time travel into the past are threefold. 1. Generating the gargantuan amounts of energy or mass required to warp space. 2. The feasibility of producing negative mass or energy. And 3. The reality of faster than light travel. These are the greatest physical sticking points. However, there is something else that may make it entirely impossible, no matter what our technological feats may be capable of. That is, past time travel presents some extraordinary logical paradoxes. We've all seen the movies and heard the stories. Someone goes back into the past and meets up with their young relatives and sets off a chain of events that leads to differences in our present time. There is a famous philosophical quandary called the grandfather or grandmother paradox. A time traveler goes back to their past, they meet up with one of their young grandparents who has not yet had any children. The time traveler accidentally or intentionally kills their grandparent. The paradox is, how does the time traveler even exist if their grandparent never had any children that eventually led to their birth? If this time traveler was never born, then who killed their grandparent? This is a logical conundrum. Another less violent paradox, called the bootstrap paradox, goes like this. A time traveler takes the design and schematics of his time machine back in time to a date before the time machine was made. He then gives the design and schematics to his younger self. His younger self then uses the schematics to fabricate the machine. Where did the schematics really originate from in the first place? This is another example of a closed time-like loop. Like the Ouroboros cycling around and eating its tail. There are others as well, but you get the idea. All of them revolve around some sort of logical contradiction. This was one of the reasons that Stephen Hawking proposed his chronology protection conjecture. In summary, is time travel possible? The answer is a firm and conclusive yes, absolutely. Time travel to the future is a real thing and can and has been done. But time travel to the past is still at the moment a speculative concept and may not even be a feasible possibility due to logical and/or physical contradictions. This concludes another video of Turtles All the Way Down. Keep those curiosities about our universe up, and I look forward to sharing more videos with you in the future. Thank you again for your support, and please subscribe and like Turtles All the Way Down. Be safe, and bye for now.